If you've ever owned or been in a BMW that's about 10 years or older, specifically the E9x generation, then you've seen and probably felt the sometimes disgusting door handles on these vehicles. It's because BMW did a rubberized type of coating on these, and over time they begin to deteriorate and can sometimes leave a gunky mess on your hand. So in this video, I completely replaced mine to make it good as new. So to start off, take a trim tool and work your way from right to left underneath this trim piece, and it's just attached on via a few different clips. Next, you're going to have 4 bolts that hold the door card to the door itself. The bolt holes are easily indicated here on video. These 4 bolts are the only structural pieces that hold the door card onto the door. Other than that, it's just these clips. And these clips are actually all the way around the door on the sides and bottom, and then on the very top they pull straight out. I'm going to get straight into the install, but stay until the end of the video and I'll show you how to disconnect everything behind the door itself. Next, take your trim tool and pull the window switch out simply by prying from the front and pulling it straight out. Next, we're taking the entire armrest piece off. These are held in by clips. Simply take your pry tool once again and pull up to remove the entire armrest. It's important to note that some models are actually plastic welded on from the rear. In this case, mine does have clips. On the next step, I'll show you how to drill out those plastic tabs in case your model has that. In the event your armrest has tabs like mine, you'll also have these metal retaining clips. There are 2 of them. Simply take a pry removal tool and remove them. At this point, the armrest should be able to pop out freely and we can move on to the next step. Next, remove the backing plate behind the door handle. There are no screws or bolts, it's simply pressed in via these tabs. Now to remove the door handle itself, as you can see on the back side, they are plastic welded in. There's no bolts or screws to remove, so taking a 1/2-inch drill bit, simply easily work your way down to rip off and remove the plastic coating just so we can break it free. You're not trying to drill through it. That's why I use a 1/2-inch drill bit. You're just trying to break it free in a clean downward motion. And then once you get down, you'll be able to feel it. Take your pry tool, pop it off cleanly, and there'll be no damage, and you can pull it off, and that way we can put the new door handle on in its place, and we'll have screws to make it easier going forward. Now, those of you that follow me know that there's always time to clean and make something look better than new. In this case, I just took Adams Polish's Total Interior Cleaner and my Boar's Head interior brush and agitated the surface of the leather on the armrest and then wiped it clean once I agitated the surface, because this is 16 years of people's arms and hands sitting on there. So a lot of just surface dirt and body oils on there over the years, and you can see the amount of dirt here that came off on the towel, and that's just from one pass. So it's always a good time to take advantage of these situations when pieces are off the vehicle. And here I went ahead and did the door card itself, making sure to hit all the pieces of the leather with the Adams Total Interior Cleaner, taking my dry microfiber, going back over and removing that as well. And of course, anytime you agitate and clean leather, it's always good to run back over with a conditioner. So I'm taking my Chemical Guys leather conditioner and doing one pass over just to make sure it's nice and supple going forward to maintain that like new appearance. Now to replace the window switch cover and replace it with the new cover that we are installing, there are 5 tabs here all along the side. As you can see, a pick tool I think is the best way to do this because they are intricate pieces of plastic. You're just working your way underneath all 5 of these locations, pushing in and prying up at the same time, and then eventually, as you can see, the whole piece pops out and therefore we can replace it. Again, a good opportunity to take a microfiber and some interior cleaner and just run over the switch itself to get all that years of dust and dirt out to make it clean. Now to install the new switch cover, simply put the switch itself back in, and you can't mess this up. It only goes in one way because there are 2 tabs on each side, and you're just going to squeeze it until all 5 tabs pop back in place, and once that happens, you are good to go. As you can see, I went ahead and tested to make sure that all the switches work and functionality, because this is an aftermarket part. This is not an OEM replacement, so it's always a good idea to make sure everything works. So now we're going to put the door handle back into the armrest, the newer door handle that is. It slides in from the front, again only going in one way, and then you're just going to press it in all the way until it seats flush against the armrest. What I also really like about this kit is that it comes with two little bolts. So we're going to replace the plasti weld locations with simple screws, which is really nice. There's no need to plastic or JB weld those back in place. Now take the new backing plate and simply line it up and press against the door handle. It is somewhat of a tight fit, so you may have to work it just a little bit, but once everything's lined up, it does press in and seat nicely and very flush for an OEM look, which is what you want. Now take the new window switch unit, sliding in from the rear as you can see, pressing in as you move your hands forward. There's 5 clips and those just press down into place. Now take the armrest assembly, placing it back onto the door card, pressing down from the top until all clips are in place. I also opted not to reinstall the metal rivets on the back side, as I feel it's firm enough and secure enough without those, plus they are a pain to get back in. Now, when reinstalling the door card back on your door, different models will have different inputs, mine being the M3. Maybe some subtle differences, but I'm just going to run through mine because this is obviously my example. So starting off, take the door latch cable, placing it back into location, sliding it in from the front, then pressing down from the rear. It only goes in one way, and once it's pressed in, it does lock in place, so you really can't mess that part up. Next, take the puddle light connector and reconnect it back into the light itself. Keep in mind that some of the cables, as you can see, have wire stops, which you can see me plug in right there, just making sure that they don't move around once the door card is back on. Next, for the speaker wire, this is a rocker style switch, so you're pressing it in as the latch is folding up. Once it's all the way at the top, it is fully in. Then I have 2 cables plugging into the speaker. I took a picture just to make sure I knew what I was doing and which cables went where. As you can see me checking my phone right there. That's always a good idea, just to make sure you're putting it back in the way it came out. And then at the top, lastly, is the ambient lighting cable right there. Plug that connector back in for the ambient lighting on the interior of the door. Once all your wire connections are secure, take the door card up against the door itself, making sure no wires are getting pinched. Also making sure that your door lock indicator is placed through the top peephole, as you can see right there. Once that's done, everything is clipped back in. All the way at the top is where I start, just to make sure the door holds itself on. Then going down to the sides, making sure they line up before you start pressing it in, or you could bend or break a tab. Going down to the bottom, then up to the other side, making sure that every single one are secured. Once the door card is fastened back on, take your 4 T15 bolts, placing them back into their locations, screwing them down and securing them tightly. The last step is to take your trim piece and reattach it via the 8 connecting tabs. Once those are firmly pressed in, the job is complete.